Impact with Youth, a platform where we bring together global thought leaders and young change makers to create impact for youth and impact with youth. And today's episode is very exciting as we have two global thought leaders with us, Shri Sanjay Kumar, Honorable Secretary of Ministry of Education, and Ms. Kanta Singh, Deputy Country Representative, UN Women, India. Welcome, sir and ma'am. My name is Prachi and I'm from Odisha. Through my initiative Project Nilay, we work with the most marginalized at-risk children in orphanages of Odisha. First of all, we want to wish you a very happy World Youth Skills Day. Developing skills is very crucial, but as we all know, not many have the access to it. Here, career exploration and guidance plays a very important role to link them to skilling and learning avenues and set them up for brighter future. This leads to my first question. Sanjay sir, what do you think what can ensure that every young person in India is equipped to make better career choices?
You know, Prachi, we live in very exciting times. Look at the way technology is reshaping our lives. Artificial intelligence, digital technology, it is making us redundant over a short period of time. The way business is done also is being changed irrevocably. So there is an urgent need to learn new skills, reskill and upskill. We keep talking about it. I think many of us also have old skills. So there is recognition of prior learning also, which needs to be brought on a scale where it becomes well known to all as to what kind of skills you have. So it's very exciting. Skilling is a major part of the National Education Policy of 2020. There is dignity of labor associated with it. And we as a society must cultivate this dignity of labor in every child. Then also a bifurcation between academics and skilling. So there is a perception that skilling is something second rung. It is for those people who are not good at academics, which is the prime job or the prime reason as to why go to a school. Now, this silo needs to be broken. Skilling is as much associated with a person's talent as you may be good in mathematics or you may be good in sciences. So this silo needs to be broken, and the National Education Policy 2020 says very clearly that there is to be no hard division between skilling and academic performance. It also aims that skilling must be brought into schooling system at the level of class 6. So from 6 to 8, what we are doing is that we are introducing skilling in our school. We call it actually pre-skilling. So you become comfortable with the idea of being skilled. You start looking around as to what are the skilling areas where you can do well. So you may have the aptitude for it. You need to develop competence for that. And in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, skilling becomes a compulsory subject. You have to do a subject in skilling. You know, the policy says that by 2030, every child must be in school. And also, every child who is in school must also go up till class 12th. So we expect that all children are going to be in school. So there is no better platform to introduce skilling than the schools because it makes it universal. So extremely important for us, and we are working on it. We also need to work with the markets because skilling does not exist in a vacuum. Now you may get skilled for something which you want to, so there is skilling which is aspirational, and there is skilling which might give you a job, and sometimes these two things may be different. Some things you do for pleasure and something you may do for a profession. So we have introduced a counselor in every block level, whose primary job is to go to each and every high school and higher secondary school, talk to children and tell them that, look, these are the kind of skills and the job roles which are important in the local ecosystem. encourage students to opt for those skillings. Then there's a whole world of skilling which is managed by Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. So they have the career melas, they have internships. It's a continuum. So from school, you look around and see where you can do an internship. You go to a career mela, you be a part of it. And I also must say that gender equity is extremely important, because often in India, periodic labor force survey says that women are not adequately represented in the labor force. This needs to be looked into, and all countries across the world which have done well, they have one thing in common: girls are educated and girls are there in the labor force. So these are some of the things which we are trying to address through the National Education Policy of 2020, and the textbooks, the curriculum on skilling, everything is going to support that.
Thank you, sir, for sharing that deep insight into the skilling ecosystem in India. Talking about ecosystem, I now want to ask you, ma'am, what does a successful collaboration between public, private, and youth look like to you?
I think the successful collaboration, to my mind, would be bringing resources and expertise together wherever they exist. And if they are done for public good, all the better. And I think this is exactly what sir was talking about, that a government can do or can play one part. There's a lot that can also happen if other stakeholders also come along, like private sector. They have a role to play in education, in skilling, and through my experience I have seen two things. One is that when the skilling is demand based, then it has a better impact, better retention, and also better absorption in the industry. Second is that when you reach out to the most marginalized people, particularly young women, there is a huge aspirational aspect to education as well as skilling. And I seen in some of the remotest areas of the country, women and girls don't know what their options are. And we have worked in Denkanal, we have worked in many other parts of the country. The far you go from Delhi and you realize that a lot more work needs to happen. And for that you need multi-stakeholder partnership that can bring best of money, resources, knowledge, technical expertise, and also collaborations that would bring the best in children as well as in the ecosystem.
You know, Prachi, you've been asking us questions, but let me ask you a question. You are working in a rural area in Orissa, and you are helping develop these schools there. I'm sure it's a very challenging job, but I would want to know, what were the challenges you faced while wanting to make a career choice, and what made you do what you are doing as of now?
I come from a village called Karanda in Dhenkanal, Odisha, and back then, like 5 years ago, I was the first generation graduate from my family, and not much options were known to me. And then I entered college, and I was really looking forward to it, but then COVID happened. So that part was also blocked, where I couldn't receive much guidance from my teachers and professors. So a lot happened online. It was actually through LinkedIn that I got my first job, and it was non-traditional, because most of my friends, they pursued B.Ed and masters, while I got a job in social work, and that wasn't well received at all, not by parents, professors, or even friends. But I think in 3 years of doing chemistry, I knew I wouldn't fit the bill at all, and I loved solving problems that I saw around me in society. Even if making a small change in the society would make me feel much more satisfied. And I joined vocational education sector post that, and I came to Pune for it.
Are you enjoying yourself?
Oh, a lot, yes. I'm very satisfied with the work I'm doing.
Great.
So you talked about career counseling and guidance, and like Prachi has made informed choices as far as her career is concerned. Do you think selecting a profession is the only thing that comes out of career guidance? And how does it benefit young women and men?
You know, I was listening to Prachi, and one thing caught my imagination. She studied something, but she's doing something different now.
Sure.
And something which made her take that decision, made it easy, is use of technology. So she got her job through LinkedIn. So there's a technology intervention in finding yourself a job, and also you are doing something which is very close to your heart. But identifying that also sometimes becomes very difficult for people who are uninitiated, more so our girls who are in rural areas or elsewhere. Somehow there's a societal expectation that your job role is very narrowly defined. We need to break out of that. And I think Prachi is an example because she is a role model, and I'm sure that there are several role models like her all across the country.
Sure.
Can we identify them? Can we project them and make them a brand ambassador for girls who are there all across? So that is one point. Use technology. Use technology, and as you know, many of us who are part of the government and people who are working at policies, we also know that women's representation in the labor force is extremely important if we are going to do well. And what the narrative in the country set by the Honorable Prime Minister is that we are going to become a Vikasit Bharat by the year 2047. Without women role in the economy and in the working sector, this is not possible. So we need to devise policies, make it easier. I would always say that somehow working with hands has to be linked with finding yourself a job which is reasonably well paying. And if the economy comes to our aid and jobs which require skilling, they start paying you reasonably well, it would create a demand of its own. And this demand is extremely important for us. I think what requires is very, very strict implementation, close supervision, and we are absolutely inclined to do that. So Kantaji, I see that you have a wide international experience. You have seen how other countries which have done well are progressing, and the international perspective also gives you a fairly good idea as to what India should do. I would want to know that we who are part of the government, what kind of a career guidance program we can evolve which is friendly to students but also is very, very gender friendly.
Sir, I'll go back to what you mentioned, education, technology. These are two great enablers for young women, and these can go beyond geographies, these can go beyond class, these can go beyond rural, urban. So let me talk about 4 areas which need attention in the country. One, definitely more investment in girls' education and their education in technology. There are fewer girls in STEM jobs, so we know where the problem lies, and I think we need to start paying attention to that. Safety in public places is extremely critical to get more women to realize their dreams. Third thing, I would say exposure. Your dreams are only as big as your exposure is. So we need to expose young women to the role models, to the new areas of work that they can be part of. Boys are learning new things. Girls are still studying old age courses. I think there's a problem there. And the last thing that I would say is workplace policies, which have to be equal, which have to be safe, which have to be women friendly, which also have to be designed keeping in mind women's care work that they do at home and in the communities. Prachi, I am really proud of the work that you are doing. As a young person, what would be a recommendation to the Secretary Government of India in terms of resources for young people in your area as well as in other areas to get them proper guidance so that they can choose the careers of their choice?
Having worked in the vocational education sector and being aware of all the new initiatives that government is coming up with, I would say I would have been so lucky and in a much different place had I had these opportunities. At the end of it, it's an ecosystem, and for people, especially women coming from rural areas, it's often the family or the society that plays a barrier. So, in our education ecosystem, if we can involve them, if parental engagement and education can be improved, I think that would be one great help to all the girls in many places where they're not much exposed to work or education. Second thing would be enhanced career guidance programs. I don't actually feel very much inclined to say that my school and college had prepared me for my career, and I wish that schools and colleges are equipped enough to provide career guidance to all the students. That would also make the reach, make it reach every child in India, because I believe every child has potential and not a single exam or not a single tool can assess their abilities. So we need much enhanced career guidance programs and parental engagement. We'll now come to the fun part of the video, the rapid fire round. So this question is for both of you. Imagine you're 15 years old and you have to choose a career, and you can't choose the same career as now. So what career would you choose?
I'll join the army without even a thought, I will say that.
I think teaching has been a missed profession for me. So I would love to be an assistant professor or a professor in any university teaching physics. You said something very important, that the schooling never prepared you for what you could have done later. So I think there's a big message for all of us that our schooling has to be aligned with the aspirations of children who are part of the schooling system. You've become a good podcaster, you're making a name for yourself. What next? Where do you go from here?
Back in Odisha, you'll often find me in schools and in Gram Panchayats, often speaking and sharing my experiences. And thanks to this podcast, I got to talk to both of you. And I can see myself going back to those schools and those Gram Panchayats, being nosy again and sharing about these experiences.
When I was working in Odisha, I also saw that many girls have dropped out of schools. We wanted to bring them back into the education field through National Institute of Open Schooling. Now, how do you think your podcast can help those young women who miss those opportunities and want to again join the education stream?
So ma'am, at Safe Odisha for Her, we have fellows in every district. These fellows are in mid-40s, and though not educated themselves, they often speak the importance of education in a girl's life, and that has been very helpful in having more girls enroll themselves in schools. So I think the much more grassroots initiatives are there which are doing their part in increasing, enhancing girls' education.
I also wanted to ask you, has the world changed for you since you started working now? How important is income to a girl's life or a young woman's life?
It has turned by 180 degrees. I first realized what freedom is when I was working in Pune. It was 8:30 one night, and I was walking down to my home, and I realized I'm no longer scared. I don't feel eyes on me, and I felt very safe and very free at that moment. And I decided to have ice cream sandwich for dinner. I didn't need to answer to anyone, and I felt very free. I think that moment I realized that I love being on my own. I love working, and yeah, financial independence plays a huge role, especially when it comes to agency on making decisions for yourself. So, 100%.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Thank you.
I would reiterate this. For girls, independence is required. But what Prachi just mentioned, financial independence holds the key to a balance in the kind of relationship we have in the society. If you're financially independent, a lot of things happen to you, and I think a lot of good things also happen to you. So I would say all girls must aspire for independence, but financial independence lies at the root of it.
I agree, sir. I have seen that, and the socialization process in our schools as well as at our homes prepares a girl for marriage, and that is where the problems lie. We prepare our sons for careers. I think that needs to change, where what you are talking about and what Prachi is talking about can be achieved and can be fulfilled. I think all women want to be independent. Sometimes there's a problem in how we treat girls differently than boys. And I think the shift has to be made now when young girls are young, when they are at school, when school teachers also start preparing them for careers.
The world is full of possibilities, far beyond we can imagine. And each of us have unique skills and talents. And when we receive guidance, it will own our skills and help us find our calling. Thank you both for joining us today. And those watching us online, keep making impact with youth.